What up, Dodgers Nation? D-Mac here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. So who are the worst Dodgers free agent signings of all time? We're going to get into that in just a second, but quick reminder, for all latest Dodgers news and rumors, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you want to see us post even more Dodgers content, smash that like button. And as always, I want your takes down below in the comment section. Today's Dodgers Nation question of the day. Who do you think is the worst free agent signing in Dodgers history? Let me know down below. And for all latest Dodgers news, head over to DodgersNation.com. So who are the worst free agent signings in Dodgers history? I'm going to tell you right now, but the first thing I want to say is it is not Kevin Brown. I've seen some people out there saying that Kevin Brown was the worst free agent signing in Dodgers history. He was the franchise's first 9-figure player. Of course, he signed that 7-year, $105 million deal. But if you look at his career with the Dodgers, he finished with a record of 58-32 and a 2.83 ERA in 137 games, made 129 starts, had a 147 ERA plus. That's third behind Zach Greinke's 156 and Clayton Kershaw's 155 for pitchers who have made at least 18 starts for the Dodgers. So that is a big myth. Yes, maybe he didn't live up to the hype of being the first 9-figure player for the Dodgers, but to say he was even in the conversation for being one of the worst free agent signings ever, that is just ridiculous. Don't be disrespecting Kevin Brown like that. Now, who are the worst free agent signings in Dodgers history? Well, let's get into it. Now, of course, there's some honorable mentions. You have Brandon League's 3-year, $22.5 million deal. Chad Billingsley's 3-year, $41.3 million deal. And then you can't forget about Scott Kazmir. He was awful for the Dodgers. He ended up signing a 3-year, $48 million contract, and the Southpaw was just awful. He had a 4.56 ERA, a 1.36 whip in 136 1/3 innings of work in 2016, and then he missed the entire 2017 season with a hip injury. How about Brandon McCarthy? He was an absolute train wreck with the Dodgers. That 4-year, $48 million deal. Let's look at Brandon McCarthy for a second. So he basically had his mail sent to the IL because he practically lived there. McCarthy made 4 starts to begin his first season with the Dodgers. He actually won his first 3, but he served up 9 home runs in those starts in 23 innings. He had an ERA of 5.87. So after the month of April, he was placed on the disabled list, which was what it was called at the time, for soreness in his right elbow. And then what happened? He had to undergo season-ending Tommy John surgery. So lots of injuries for McCarthy, just wasn't able to perform. And he finished his career with the Dodgers. In 3 years, he posted a 4.51 ERA in 155 2/3 innings of work. So that's definitely a big bust. And then we talk about Dave Goltz. So some of you might not know who Dave Goltz is, but the Dodgers inked him to a 6-year, $3 million deal prior to the 1980 season, and his career got off to a nice start with the Dodgers. He won back-to-back shutout starts against the San Francisco Giants, but then after that, he went just 7-11 with a 4.31 ERA in 171 innings of work. He allowed 198 hits, and his strikeouts per 9 was terrible. He had 4 strikeouts per 9, so he just couldn't miss bats, had a K percentage of just over 12%, and he was so bad that he was basically sent to the bullpen. They said, hey, you're not going to start for us, and eventually the Dodgers, they just cut him. He ended up finishing with a 4.25 ERA in 3 years with the Dodgers, 252 innings pitched, but definitely seen as a big bust at the time. And then how about Darren Dreifort? So fans of the Dodgers in the 90s, this one's going to hit hard. I know you know him very well. He was drafted by the Dodgers with the 2nd overall pick in 1993, behind, of course, Alex Rodriguez. And the thing about him is he was promoted right away to Major League Baseball. He never played in one minor league game. I think that definitely had a hand in potentially stunting his growth, and he made his MLB debut on April 7th, 1994 against the Florida Marlins. He pitched a scoreless inning of relief in his MLB debut, so nice start, but Dreifort would go on to struggle mightily for the rest of the season. He appeared in 27 games, went 0-5, and finished with an ERA of 6.21. Then after the 94 season, the injury bug sunk its teeth into with Darren Dreifort. The DL practically stood for Darren's lair because he practically lived there. Now, he did come back in 1996 and pitch out of the Dodgers bullpen, and in 19 games, he went 1-4 with a 4.94 ERA. And then in 1997, he was pretty much used mainly as a setup man, and that's when he had his best year in Los Angeles. He went 5-2 with a 2.86 ERA, even recorded 4 saves that year. He had 63 punch-outs and 53 innings of work, and the best of all is he stayed off the DL. He didn't get injured that season, and then the following year, the Dodgers tried him again as a starter. He went 8-12 with an ERA of 4, but he also went 180 innings, so he did stay on the mound, and over the next 2 seasons, he just was consistently inconsistent. In 99, he had a 4.79 ERA in 178 innings of work, and then in 2000, he had an ERA of 4.16, and that is when the Dodgers decided to sign him. The Dodgers, they were afraid another team was going to try to sign him, so they ended up inking him to a deal, and he ends up signing a 5-year, $55 million contract with the Dodgers, and it, of course, did not go well. The following season in 2001, he was atrocious. By July, he was already 4-7 with a 5.13 ERA, and he was walking batters, had a walks per 9 at 4.5, and then the injuries came again. He had to have complete reconstructive elbow surgery, and look, he had a hip injury, he had a knee injury, he had a shoulder injury. They even found out that he developed the bubonic plague at one point. So look, it just did not work out for Darren Dreifort, so definitely one of the worst signings in Dodgers history. And then how about Darryl Strawberry? So when the Dodgers signed Darryl Strawberry to a 5-year, $20.25 million contract back in 1990, that was seen as a massive signing. He's from LA. It was the big homecoming. He was one of the game's brightest stars. And if you look at what he accomplished with the Mets, he played in 7 straight All-Star games, won the 1983 Rookie of the Year, won the 1986 World Series. He hit 252 home runs in 8 years with the Mets, and he was considered to be one of, if not the best, left-handed hitter in the game. And it felt like this Hollywood script. Darryl Strawberry coming back to Los Angeles, but unfortunately just never materialized. If you look at his numbers in parts of 3 seasons for the Dodgers, he slashed 243, 340, 445, had a 786 OPS. Now, his first season with the Dodgers actually went really well. He made the All-Star team. He had a 140 OPS plus. He hit 28 home runs, but then he would hit just 10 home runs combined for the rest of his career in Los Angeles. Now, what happened? Well, he was addicted to cocaine, got busted for drugs, also got busted for domestic violence. So he just really couldn't handle life here in Los Angeles at that stage of his career and his life. So unfortunately, it just didn't work out, and the Dodgers eventually bought out his contract in May of 1994. And then next we have Jason Schmidt. So Jason Schmidt is one that really angers me because he was a former Giant. And in San Francisco, he was spectacular. He had a 3.38 ERA. He made 3 All-Star teams. He was a known innings eater. And in 2007, Ned Colletti signed Schmidt to a 3-year, $47 million contract. Now, on the surface, that seems like it could be a good deal, right? $47 million for a 3-time All-Star, a guy who had been one of the best pitchers in the league at one point, a guy that built his reputation on being an innings eater. And look, a lot of the guys on this list, yes, they got injured, but the Dodgers didn't know that ahead of time. And look, a lot of these cases, it's tough to tell if a player is going to go down with an injury. Well, that wasn't the case with Jason Schmidt. They knew he had a torn rotator cuff, and they signed him anyway. So it was a terrible decision, and he only appeared in 10 games over the life of his contract with the Dodgers, and he posted a 6.02 ERA in 43 1/3 innings of work. So basically, the Dodgers paid him more than $1 million per inning, and his career eventually ended with the Dodgers after suffering chronic shoulder issues. So that was a massive bust. And while all these signings are absolutely terrible, for me growing up loving the Dodgers in the 90s and the 2000s, the Mona Lisa of bad Dodgers free agent signings for me is Andruw Jones. Yes, Andruw Jones, he was fantastic with the Atlanta Braves. One of the best defensive center fielders of all time. But for the Dodgers, he was an unmitigated disaster. Andrew Jones was terrible in his 1 year here. And another bad signing by Ned Colletti, because Andrew Jones was coming off the worst year of his career, and he signed him anyway. He signed him to a 2-year, $36.2 million contract, and we were all excited at the time. This is Andrew Jones. This is a guy that made his mark being athletic. Well, he showed up to spring training overweight and out of shape, and if you look at the year he had, his 1 year with the Dodgers in 75 games, he ended up slashing 158, 256, 249, had a 505 OPS, of 35 OPS plus, and the Dodgers eventually just released him in January of 2009, and they opted to release him and pay the money he was owed rather than have him take up a roster spot for the 2009 season. That is how bad it was. So to me, Andrew Jones is the worst signing in Dodgers history, but yours might be different. So let me know down below in the comment section, who do you think is the worst free agent signing in Los Angeles Dodgers history? Let me know down below. My name is D-Mac. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. For all the latest Dodgers news and rumors, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you want to see us post even more Dodgers content, smash that like button. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.